start with that. We're gonna. Hello, everyone. Yeah, we're gonna start. We had fascinating religious discussions before we were joining you guys. Sorry about because tomorrow is Yom Kippur for our Jewish friends out there.
There won't be any pictures though.
No, which include So so tonight is Kol Nidre, which is a really sacred holiday. My wife's Jewish, so I have celebrate all these holidays along with her. Not really celebrating is a hard word to use for Kol Nidre and Yom Kippur, I guess, but it's like we're gonna.
Yeah, there's no celebration for Yom Kippur. The celebration is when you're done fasting and you get to eat like a human again.
Right, fasting as fast as you can, so to speak. So it's proper to this is a little lesson. If you have a Jewish friend, it's proper to say have a easy fast.
Right.
That's something you could say to somebody who's going to not eat from the sundown today to sundown tomorrow.
Oh, that's a long time.
It is. It's 24 hours. My wife's way of doing it though is drinking as much as you can before sundown, falling asleep and sleeping till like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and then getting up and managing those 4 or 5 hours.
The drinking doesn't matter as much, but she's right about the sleeping. That was always like, I don't do it anymore.
The more you can sleep, right?
But the sleeping is the key, because if you could wake up at like noon or 1 o'clock, you've really limited that time there where you might get hungry. And so and then if I used to just play video games or whatever, I would be okay.
Can you drink water?
Yeah, you could brush your teeth.
You can't drink water.
You can't drink water though. Oh, I would be so miserable.
You can brush your teeth and that's it.
That's it. You can brush your teeth. You can't drink water.
And no, it's kind of. I've done it a couple times with her. It's kind of like it's interesting. It's a good. It's not a bad thing to do once in a while, just for like the it gives you an idea.
For your body's sake, it's not a bad thing to do.
Not a bad thing to do for your body's sake, and it's not a bad thing to do just to remind yourself of how great we have it and how we can easily eat anytime, when we want to.
I was gonna say that would be a good day to do a cleanse.
Totally. My wife, by the way, that's not exactly what she does. I was totally exaggerating there. I just got a nice text from her because she's watching. She never watches the show.
Tell her hi. She's watching us. No pressure.
Never watches, ever. I don't think she's watching. I technically think one of her friends is watching and told her that. I really don't think that she's watching.
Well, let's get started.
And if she is, I'll apologize.
There are 2 other keys, too. The meal the night before should be heavy, but when you break your fast, it should be light.
Yeah, but nothing salty tonight. She was telling me nothing salty. She's gonna go for pasta.
Yeah, pasta works well. And when you break, that's why a lot of people have bagels and lox when they break, because it's light.
Right.
Not because it's like a Jewish thing to eat.
Right. I can't stand lox, by the way. That's just like
what?
Why do I think that Mike, I think that you would be like a bagel and lox guy. Didn't you tell me this before that you really like this?
I like salmon. I just don't like lox on bagels. No.
Yeah.
I like salmon as a fish, as a dinner entree type.
Well, it's different though because it's smoked salmon, and so
it tastes like you're licking a fishbowl. It's really horrible.
It's not. It's so not.
Please get off of this, jeez.
So before we start the show, really fast, and we will do. And we do have to. I do have to end earlier because my son was like, I almost got arrested yesterday because I waited way too long. So we have to end by 2:10. Because I pick up my son from school on some day after the show, and he was like standing there in the corner. There's a cop right next to him. He's talking to him. I'm like, oh, this is great. He's like wondering because I pick him up from school. Anyway, have you seen these yet?
No.
Okay, so
this year's version. I've seen Teeny Mates before. They've had them before.
Okay, yeah, this was available at out of all places, Wegmans. Oddly enough, which is where you can get zucchini squash and these. Teeny Mates. So these are really small little men, one representing each team.
It'd be good if they had some diversity. I have to admit that.
That's true. They all look exactly the same. That would be interesting. Yeah, I guess that would be a fight as to who would be the diversity teams. Not cheap, like $45 or something like that for this.
Wow. But it is every team, so
it is every team. So I guess you can collect these. You can do it the other way, where you just try to collect them.
Yeah, because I think they're like $3 a piece or something.
Yeah, and if so it is every team. It also comes with a special glow in the dark man here. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Far from the days of the stickers from Loblaws.
Yeah. Oh man, I love those. Oh geez, I love those. I used to love my sticker books, my sticker hockey books. They were the best. That was. I got into those way more than I got into hockey cards.
1970. The first year of the Capitals and the Kansas City Scouts.
Yes. 74. That is. So I remember having Capitals and Kansas City Scouts stickers. That's really good. That's a good call, Mike. So what I'm doing between now and Thanksgiving American style, and it was yesterday if you're Canadian, is that I'm going to be I'm trying to get different people to send me things like this, because I like stuff for free, and then to see if and then review them on the show. And then actually, my goal has always been in my lifetime is to collect as many different kinds of hockey games as I can. So I have a couple more coming to me. I have one coming today and one coming tomorrow. And then we'll talk about them a little bit too. Once we get done all these.
I know somebody that owns a company. I'll get them to send you one too.
I love any kind of hockey game.
It's a hockey game. Yeah.
That's cool. Please, that would be fantastic. So I do collect, and because when we were kids, there weren't hardly any. Now there's a lot more. But anyway, let's start into the show. And of course, when Jill was a kid, we were all in college. So let's start the show. Here we go. Ready? It's the 11th, right? Damn it.
Yes.
Hello, Hockey World. It's Tuesday, October 11th, 2016.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Jillian Fisher.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Eklund. That was for you, Mike. And you're watching the HockeyBuzzCast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes to you every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world and to get you ready for the season, which starts tomorrow night. Can I hear a hallelujah? Jeez. I'm really thrilled that, thanks, guys, for leaving me hanging dry there. No one... Anyway,
I didn't know you actually wanted us to say it.
That was rhetorical. It's not a rhetorical. Can I hear a hallelujah? Anyway, so here we go. No, this is the thing. I mean, after watching those debates, like I said the other day, thank God hockey season is starting, so we don't have to think about that for a while. And tomorrow night it starts, and then of course, so yesterday we did our preview. Very controversial, all over the internet. People screaming at me for picking Detroit to finish last in the Atlantic Division. People going nuts about that. We'll see what happens as time will tell. As you guys know, I'm almost always exactly right with these things. So we'll see what happens from here. Way to go. Nicely played, Mike. So today we're going to talk specifically about the Pacific Division. So that's a good thing to say 10 times fast. A specific Pacific Division prediction show. I'm here all week. All right, so we're going to start. This division has now, over the last several years, and we'll get to news at the end if we can. But obviously, Kucherov signed a bridge deal. You guys know that by now. Gaudreau signed a long deal. And we'll get to all that, and that's Kucherov especially. But let's start with the Pacific Division, because this is a division that is, as we know, if you track over the last 5 years, this division, you won't find another division with a better record overall than this division. This is the in the fact that you have this division has been very strong, really good teams. And it's true. Jill's looking at me confusingly.
Didn't they finish with the lowest combined points last season?
Yes, they did. But if you go over the last...
What you just said?
I know, it's about math, Jillian. It's not about real life.
We're talking about the last 5 years combined, because 3 of the last 5, they were the best. 1, they were the worst. And then 1, they were like the second best. So they've actually been very, very good. But last year, they did struggle. And so the question remains, will there be 4 or 5 teams out of this division? We'll of course, answer that question today. And who will finish in 7th place in this division? Because we have only 7 teams to get through as opposed to 8 like we did yesterday. So, but
yes,
next year,
I might
of course,
actually get to say something about the last one. That's good.
This is the last.
Welcome to my world, Russ.
By the way, very well. This is the last time, by the way, that this division will have 7 teams in it, because this division will be joined next year by the Las Vegas Moose Desert.
I just call them the insert adjective nights. That's
right.
And I predict they'll be coming in last. I'm going to do that now.
Going bold.
There you go. That's you're going to do that now?
Yes.
Wow, Russ. I'm going to tell you that I will not pick them to come in last next year, because
of course you won't.
Anyway,
so here we go. Come in last. I will also not pick them to get to the playoffs. They're going to go smack dab in the mediocre range.
Last place. Last.
Well, we'll have lots of time to talk about that. But let's get into this here, because we don't have much time to talk about this. We're going to talk about this division, and I am going to start, as you always should when you're picking the worst team, with Mike. So, all right, Mike. So who is going to finish in 7th in this division? Tell us.
That would be the Arizona Coyotes. I believe that they are, there is some young talent coming there. Christian Dvorak, Dylan Strome. You've got Domi and Duclair. They added Alex Legoski, but their main additions this offseason and in the last couple seasons have been players who are done, that are like Chris Pronger and Pavel Datsyuk and Dave Bolin. They bring in Lawson Krause in that trade. I think there's a lot of young guys on this team, but the goaltending is shaky. I actually think if they end up going to Louis Domingue over Mike Smith, they probably would be better off. They're a work in progress. I think they'll be a little better than they were last year, but I think they'll finish in last in that division.
Interesting. And they didn't finish it? Did they finish in last? Yeah, they did last year, right? Yeah, they did.
No, Vancouver finished in last.
Right, Vancouver finished in last year. That's right. So, let's go to Jillian.
I have the Vancouver Canucks coming in last. I wasn't fully prepared. Hold on.
That's all right.
I just think that's the Vancouver Canucks. I just think the Sedins are getting older. I think that the Coyotes have younger, hungrier talent. And I don't see anything really coming from the Canucks this season.
I love the term "hungry" when talking about the Sedins.
It's a bad word.
I'm sorry.
They could eat. No, they could eat like no one's business. Actually, I have a really funny, quick, short story about that. I promise.
Like Swedish meatballs. So there you go.
Yeah. So no, here's the thing. So I used to coach my daughter. I've always coached my daughter's soccer team. But when they were 7, we were in an indoor tournament. And this little girl named Carly, who is actually still with Quinn on her team now, was playing out of her mind one day. And I'm like, Carly, she comes back to the bench. I'm like, you're doing amazing. What the heck? You look so hungry out there today. And she says, well, actually, it's funny you say that. My mom gave me 3 pancakes this morning and I'm feeling better. I'll never forget that. All right. So
is that enough? I gave enough right there, right? I'm good.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Totally. Those are my reasons that I can think of right now.
No, shorter is sometimes better in shows like this. We appreciate
it. All right, I'll keep it.
Especially when compensating for somebody else who goes longer.
And tell stories about children eating muffins. Russ, go ahead.
Arizona's last. And even with Jacob Chikrin on defense, which I like, they just don't have enough goaltending. The scoring might be there. They're going to lose games, probably 4-3. There'll be some 3-2s. I think they're getting better, but it's just a tough division. I don't like them this year. They're building. Right. They're rebuilding.
They're. I mean, we like them. I mean, obviously, Russ.
We do, but they're rebuilding.
You're a big fan of theirs. I know you're a big fan of everything they've done, but it's just not there yet. You're saying, right? So that's. I mean, they are interesting because there aren't any teams in this division who have gone like in the long-term rebuild, like Arizona has. And oddly enough, for them being such a obscure market that needs to sell tickets, it's been an interesting thing that they've done. And unlike Florida, they're sticking with it and staying on the course. So
I give them credit for that. I
do too. And I mean, you have to like where they're coming to. I mean, they have so much talent. I mean, let's say it is, which is why they are not going to finish in 7th place, kids. In my mind, this is where the LA Kings are going. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, oh, you're not going to say that, right?
No, I'm not. I'm with Jillian on this one. I'm unfortunately the Vancouver Canucks, who I like what they've done in some situations. I think they've made some good picks and they have some good prospects, but I really don't think they have the defense to play in the NHL right now. Like, I think that's the issue. I mean, they just don't have enough defensively to make it work. So, I mean, to me, they're the team to look out. I mean, I really like the Eriksson move a lot. I think that's going to be a really good line mate. It's going to help. It could give Sedin a couple more productive years out of their careers. Actually, it could really help the Sedins. Like, or you can just call them as the Sedin, just as one, unit. Like, the hibernating Sedin. But no, you really could give the Sedin a little bit of a boost. And obviously we saw that in the already, in his time in Vancouver in the preseason. He had 2 goals in his first game. He did, and he also played really well in the World Cup. So, yeah, I'm going to go with them as finishing in 7th place, which brings us to the dreaded number 6th place, which is too good to get a good pick and not really even close to making the playoffs. This is where no one wants to finish. So, Russ, we'll start with you for number 6.
Edmonton Oilers.
Whoa.
Listen, I'm still not sold on their defense. I think their offense will be better. We don't know if Jesse Puljujarvi will stay there all year. We know that he hoped to play with Connor McDavid, but now he's not playing with Connor McDavid. He's going to play with Patrick Maroon and a center to be named later. They haven't even decided who they're going to put with
Center to be named later.
Most important guy or third most important guy in the future. Like these things, it just seems like a terribly undecided team. And it just seems like a mishmash in a way. And
I met that center to be named later, and it's really a shame his parents didn't name him when he was born.
Nail Yakupov Part 2 is what they're doing here. They're going to put him on a line with Patrick Maroon. I mean, that's just idiotic.
Yep. Great color, but and a good player, but not really just. And Patrick Maroon was very good for the Oilers last year too. Let's not forget he was surprisingly good for them and helped out a ton. But going with the Oilers in 6th, interesting. Mike, you're up.
I have Vancouver finishing 6th. I mean, I grant that they're probably going to be at the bottom end of this division. I think the Eriksson signing helps. They're getting Brandon Sutter back from, he missed most of the year last year. They had another year with guys like Virtanen and Horvat. They're young players, and I hope that Erica Branson has a great year and sticks it up the of the analytics crowd, because that trade with Jared McCann with Florida was widely panned by the analytics crowd as a terrible trade.
Speaking of sorry, the person who is cleaning our dog's crap from our backyard just arrived. I have to be right back. Excuse me for 1 second.
Okay. All right. So, and the thing is, I also think that Ryan Miller, if he stays healthy, will steal some games. And I just don't think that there's enough veteran experience there and enough youth there that they will be able to not finish in last. I know there's a lot of people out there that project them to be the worst team, maybe the 30th place team in the NHL. But I think unless they dismantle that team, I don't think that's going to happen. Now, Jillian, what did you have for 6th?
I mean, I have the Oilers as well, but it really, to me, like the bottom of this division seems like it all could kind of be one. Like I feel like you could have, for me, I have Canucks, Oilers, and then Coyotes. But for me, they kind of just blend together. For me, the Oilers, the biggest thing is their defense. I think that I just don't trust. I like the addition of Larson, but I just don't. I don't see their defense being able to hold up, and maybe their goalie can steal some games, but I don't trust it.
Well, I mean, we'll let that catch up when he comes back. But the thing is that Peter Chiarelli must have misunderstood something when it came to top 4 defensemen. I think he wants to corner the market on number 4 defensemen, because that's all he's been able to pick up. Adam Larson, I think, is a second pairing guy. So is Chris Russell. So is Oscar Klefbom. So I mean, right now, they don't have on that team right now a legitimate top pairing defenseman. Even Andres Sekera, who they're spending $5.5 million a year, is, to my mind, not a top pairing defenseman.
Same with Darnell Nurse. Same with him.
I mean, Darnell Nurse might be a top pairing guy if in terms of like playing with a player who's an offensive guy. He could be the stay-at-home guy, and he has mobility. But that team is stacked with number 4 defensemen. The only reason I think that they'll finish in 5th in that division is because of Connor McDavid.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think McDavid will have a big year, and probably Lucic will play on the wing with him, and Lucic could score over 30 goals, basically standing in front of the net and letting McDavid pass it off of him. So I think that'll be enough for them to finish 5th.
We're doing 6th, aren't we?
No, because you were gone. We moved to 5th. But what was your?
Okay, I'm sorry. Wow, you were fast.
Yep.
So what did Jillian say for 6th?
We have 17 to cover.
What did you say for 6th, Jill?
Jillian said Edmonton for 6.
Edmonton, but also, can we all just agree that these bottom 3 teams kind of blend together at a certain level?
Yeah, I think that's true with a lot of that was true in the division yesterday too. I think that's there does seem to be a bit of a divide right now in the NHL. I think between the haves and have-nots. And I think we're looking at some of the have-nots here.
Well, the haves all kind of blend together, and the have-nots kind of blend together.
Yeah, and there are not many teams you can think in the middle. Like you could say they could go either way. It feels like and that's kind of abnormal. I think over the last several years we've had more of a parity. I feel like parity is existing, and it's obviously going to exist in points. It always does because of
salary cap.
Because you get a point for losing. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what keeps everybody close together. Point for losing is a wonderful thing. So there you have it. All right, I'll do my 6th team. You had started the 5th with Edmonton, Mike?
I started with Edmonton, correct.
Okay, I am going with the Anaheim Ducks in number 6.
Oh, the internet's gonna get mad at you.
Who was your number 6? Just out of curiosity.
Number 6, I'm just saying it right now. The Anaheim Ducks.
That's why I said the internet's gonna get mad at him.
Yep. I know the internet's going to get mad at me, and I am sorry for my Ducks fans out there, including Cole, who is one of my good buddies. But yeah, I think that I feel as if the Ducks are caught in a really weird between stage. Like they're not rebuilding. They're not, and this is when teams are not admitting to rebuild but need to rebuild is when you can look for a team to have a really troubling season. I think the Ducks need to rebuild, and I don't think they're admitting to it. Because when you look at what they're doing, the way they've done it, I mean, they still have strong players. You could say, okay, they could still be strong enough to make it through, and they could still be strong enough to make the playoffs. And I'm sure many of you will say that. But I don't know, and I don't know that the coaching change is going to be I don't know that it's going to be all that it's cracked up to be here. I mean, there's more to this team, and also, I really. As much as I was a huge Gibson fan for years, when he was playing for Team USA as a junior and everything like that, I haven't really been sold on him as a pro yet. At times he's looked amazing. At times he can look horrible. Like he really does have Israel over the map. So I'm just going to go on a limb here and think that the Ducks are going to struggle again, and it's going to be, last year, remember they struggled terribly out of the get-go. Did manage to really come on strong and one of the best teams for a while there, made the playoffs, but they made the playoffs by going to that style of we're going to fall back, we're going to defend, we're going to counterattack everything, we're going to play defense. That's not what a dominant team does.
It was definitely a tale of two halves because they were
a tale of two halves, and the way they got back in it was by playing the style of a team that's not a good team, but a team that's going to try to just keep you close and win games on breaks at the end. That's what they did, and they did it, and it worked for them. And I think Boudreau, obviously,
Randy Carlisle.
No, their coach they fired.
Bruce Boudreau. Yeah.
Boudreau, yeah. I was like, Boudreau and Gaudreau just got crossed off in my head for a second. I think Bruce Boudreau will be vindicated in Minnesota. I don't think that this was his bad. I think that this team had issues. So that's my number 6 team. So now we're on to number 5. You've said Edmonton, right. Mike. Why don't you go next, Russ?
All right, I've got the Vancouver Canucks. I like the Gabranson signing. I think Hutton can play the position, so I think their defense is a little better. Is it perfect? No. Sven Barshy's turned into a hell of a player. So is Jake Virtanen. I think those are young pieces that will definitely help them that I think are still – I think Barshy is being overlooked by almost everybody. I think he's really coming along. And so I think they have more offense. I think the Sedins with the Boston guy, I'm forgetting his name.
Louis Eriksson.
Yes, Louis Eriksson. They've added Louis Eriksson, who will also shore up like penalty killing, defense from forwards, little things like that the Canucks, I think, have been suffering from. So that's why I've got them 5th. They still have Ryan Miller. If you still have Ryan Miller, you're not going to be in the bottom.
That's why it was hard for me to put them there too. I agree with you. That I thought the same exact line, and I would have said it if I was you, but I didn't because I think they do have Ryan Smith, and I do think they'll finish in the bottom.
The one thing is that they could trade Ryan Miller at the deadline because he's on the last year of his contract. If there's a team out there that needs a goalie, so
sure. That would really screw up the Hockey Mon series. Okay, that's going on in Canada if they were to trade Ryan Miller. Just saying it,
Well, we can't have that then.
No. You guys have to get in. I'm hooked. I'm not a reality. I'm hooked. Anyway, it's online. Let's go to you, young Jillian.
I have the Coyotes coming in. We're at 5th. The Coyotes, I am a fan of the youngsters, team youngsters. I like the young core they have. And I think that with that energy, they might be able to squeak by and get that 5th spot. Not that it's a great spot to get, but they can, I think they'll oust the Canucks and the Edmonton Oilers for that 5th spot. That wobbling 5th spot. Oh my God. But
I know.
It's a horrible spot to end up in too. It's really not a good spot.
It really is. And that's not where they want to be because, if they're going to keep, but I mean, they have so many prospects, they'll be fine.
Yeah. I think they're in that rebuild stage. They have some dead contracts, dead money that they have there, which with, like we were saying, the Pronger deal. And I don't really know what's going to happen with them in the next couple of years. Maybe they're a year or two away from being a good team, but I do like the young players they have.
All right, very good. All right, number 5.
Mike didn't go, did he?
No, I said Edmonton.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So now we're up to 4.
This was hard for me to do because I really like the Coyotes, but this is where I'm putting them. I actually think the Coyotes could finish in 4th. They could make the playoffs. I think this is to me, this team and the next team is and since we've all gone, I'll do my 4th pick here as well.
Okay.
My 4th pick, the LA Kings. I think the Arizona Coyotes and the LA Kings could flip-flop. I think the LA Kings could be in danger of not making the playoffs as well. As much as I like Jonathan Quick, but here's another team that has shown inconsistencies. And last year in the playoffs, that magic sort of burst for them a little bit. It's gonna be curious. I'm just curious to see how well they do here. They, it's the kind of thing that Coach Sutter will I could see him just upping and quitting, being I'm done. In the middle of the year, things are frustrating. There's so many things with the Kings. They have a good young group coming, and they've done a good job at that. But they don't have that middle thing to carry them through here. I think some of the older, obviously, Gabrick's hurt. Kopitar is phenomenal, awesome. Doughty's phenomenal, Quick. I mean, you have 3 of the top players in the world on your team, so it's hard to say they won't make the playoffs. And I'm not going to say they won't make the playoffs. I do think they're going to make the playoffs, but I think they're going to make it here as a 4th place team in this division. So I've got LA as 4. And let's go to Russ.
I'm going with Calgary. They've got Giordano back. They've got everybody locked up now, which is good. Everybody's healthy. Dougie Hamilton's healthy. And what was a tire fire last year, now they have goaltending, so it shouldn't be a tire fire this year. Sam Bennett's a year older. I mean, they really do have a lot of pieces there, and they have a good enough defense now where if the goaltending is just average, they'll end up in this spot. They could possibly go higher again, but I'm just gonna, slow it on the goaltending and just put them there.
Yeah, I'm with you. They're another hard team to predict. I mean, they were so good 2 years ago. Last year, they seemed to lose a lot of that. All right, Jill.
Now because I have nothing really of value to add because I agree completely with Russ.
Okay.
And the only thing is Gaudreau. I really like him, and but I have nothing else to say because that sums them up. Really, it does.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between you and Mike is you admit that. Mike, you're up next.
I also have Calgary.
I'm just having fun. Sorry, I apologize. I'm in a weird mood today. Sorry.
Have you not eaten, Mike? I mean,
no, I just paid a guy. How much do you think it would cost to clean out? Like, we have family come over for this holiday, right? So how much do you think it would cost to clean out? Like, our backyard is pretty big, but we have one particular area, which is where the dogs go. They're kind of like steered there. They can't go anywhere else, which is nice. So that makes, I'm usually the one who cleans it once a week. It's a horrifying experience.
$50.
What, $50?
$250.
No, I mean, I swore I would never. This is like, I hate paying for things like this. Like, and I always feel like an idiot. Like if I pay for something like this. So this guy came around the neighborhood and said for $10, $10, I will clean out all the poop in your backyard from your dogs. And, and it's just my first time. If you like it, then after that, it goes to like 40 an hour or something like that. So I'm like, I will take you up on that. So I haven't cleaned it for 3 weeks. He's out there now. So anyways, that's why I'm in a weird mood.
Well, that's worth it. 40 is about right, though. I mean, 40,
yeah,
50
but
bucks.
$10. That is well worth $10 for me right now.
Oh,
so anyway, all right. So let's continue, Mike. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No problem. That crappy interruption.
Yeah.
So I have Calgary in 4th.
Okay.
One thing I have a concern with in terms of the fact that Monahan and Gaudreau have been signed is that so some of these players they play with a lot of motivation to get that big contract, and now both of them have signed that big contract, and sometimes they'll fall back a little bit, and that could happen. I like the addition of Troy Brouwer. Apparently, they're going to sign Christopher Stieg, who was let go by Edmonton. He's going to sign a 1-year contract.
It means he'll officially have played for every team in the NHL.
Yeah, which means Brian Burke is bringing him. Burke had him in Toronto, so there you go.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll disagree with Russ in is Brian Elliott is the Jimmy Howard of the Western Conference. He could be one of the most overrated goaltenders in the NHL. Wow. I don't think he's I mean, their goaltending was bad.
We're doing this again? Is this like 5 months ago? Is this happening right now?
Yeah, they're
going to the past.
Their goaltending was bad last year with your good buddy Kerry Ramo and
Mike is like a Westworld robot. That's what he is.
There you go. Well, but I like their defense. Obviously, Giordano, Hamilton, and Brody are really good, and I think there's a lot of talent there. But I think
don't you think that'll help Elliott? I mean, that'll help him.
Yeah, it'll help him, but he's not a good goaltender, so I don't think it'll help him enough. So I think
he's a pretty good goaltender.
He's a very good goaltender. He's a very good goaltender. I mean, he beat the LA Kings last year, right?
Season by season, he is a good goaltender.
He's been an all-star. Come on.
He beat the Blackhawks last year. He took the Blackhawks out. Sorry.
Like I thought this was determined that you were wrong on this, Mike. When he actually,
I never admit that I'm wrong because I'm not wrong on this.
You are very wrong on this.
Kill it. Just kill it.
He will never admit he's wrong. All right, so here's the thing I want to say before we go to Jillian, because the one thing I forgot about in my notes, I circled and circled and circled. I had to say this on Arizona because it went really fast. I got thrown by the dog guy. On Arizona,
got thrown by the poop.
Yeah, which isn't strange. All right, so the Rangers' worst trade in their history of their franchise, Russ, may turn out to be this Anthony Duclair trade.
No kidding.
Beyond.
You could ask Mike. I hated it the minute it happened because Duclair is a top 6 guy.
He's more than that. I think he's a top 3 guy, and I think he is potentially a superstar. Actually, if you watch, I was watching SportsCenter the other day, or Sportsnet the other day up in Canada, and they did their top 50 plays of the year. Just had a special, really fun, top 50 plays. Anthony Duclair was involved in 6 of them. 6. Were Anthony Duclair goals of the top 50 players in the NHL last year. And that's as a young player. When you see this guy develop into something else, my gosh.
I know. Listen, I'm very distraught about it. It was a horrible rental. That's it.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about bringing it up. But I just something I wanted to bring up with Arizona because
Sure you are.
Well, come on. But I'm just saying that, it is amazing. When you see guys, and this reminds me a little bit of Tarasenko, right? When Tarasenko came in, and you were just, he was good, but when he scored goals, they were just always highlight goals. And Duclair has the same kind of thing. And then suddenly Tarasenko was scoring not just 5 of those, but 25 of those. So it's just that's where I think this is gonna. Anyway, that's it. So Jillian, you're number 4. Sorry.
I thought I already said mine.
Did you? I apologize.
The Flames, right? That's what I said.
Right. I missed it.
Calgary.
All right. Everybody picked Calgary except for me. I picked LA. All right. So I've got LA at 4. All right. Now going on to number 3. Where is it? Shoot, I lost my page. All right. Crap. Let's go. Let's start with you. Let's start with you, Mike, for number 3 then.
Number 3, I have the LA Kings. Mostly because the regular season is never important for the LA Kings. It's just getting into the playoffs. And with what they have, which is Kopitar, one of the best two-way centers in the league, Jeff Carter, who continues to score, young talent like Pearson and Toffoli, and, one of the best defensemen in the league, Drew Doughty and Jonathan Quick, I think that they will make the playoffs. And who knows what they'll do in the playoffs. But I think there's enough there. They're going to have to contend with Gaborik being out for a while. But they've contended with that before. I think there's enough depth in that organization, and you're going to see, the players that Mike Fuda drafted start to come around. I know that Russ and I were talking about Derek Forbert, one of their former first-round picks, who's probably going to be in their top 6 this year. But they have young guys who they're going to start bringing through the organization, like Kempe, who might finally make it this year. They have some young talent, and I think that there's enough there for that team to make the playoffs again.
Good. Very good. Very good. Let's go to Joe. Joe, number 3.
I have the Ducks.
You said it so dejectedly.
I don't know. I just feel like I don't know why.
Emilio Estevez just posted a sad face on Twitter.
Quack. Good.
Boy, I don't fully trust the goaltending, but I think the new coach behind the bench will help them. They're always interesting in the regular season for me, but I don't see much shakeup happening. I still think they're going to come in the top 3, and I think they're going to become in 3rd.
Yeah, there you go. Mike, that's 3 ways of saying that. Yeah, Mike, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
I already said a 3 for LA, so it's rough.
I'm sorry. Russ?
Going 3rd, it reminds me of the time the Flyers traded for Steve Eminger, and that pick turned into John Carlson with the Capitals. I'm sorry, it just came into my head.
Very
Anyhow,
nicely done. Or the time they traded Patrick Sharp to Chicago. Thank you very much.
The Anaheim Ducks, I couldn't be more diametrically opposed to these non-positive John Gibson comments. He's played 66 games in his NHL career, and he's essentially gotten jerked around from not knowing his starter, coming in as a backup, being the starter, not being. He's never officially been named the starter from the start of the season. Like he's never had that opportunity.
No, you're totally right. And
I'll say that is very true, and that does mess with you. It does, yes.
And he has a 920 save percentage still.
Oh, I know. It's not that. I'm sorry. I'll let you go. But with me, it's that it's something in his game itself that bothers me. I don't know what it is. But anyway, continue.
But I get where Russ is coming from with that. It's that sometimes your game gets kind of messed with because that's true too. You are being messed with more or less.
That's true too. So
I would say their defense is still intact, and they didn't trade anybody. They just sent Shea Theodore and Brandon Montour down to the AHL. So that just shows you that even if somebody gets hurt, what they have to come in and replace. Even a new coach, I think, could go autopilot with these guys and at least come in third. I really do.
Yeah. Okay. My third place team is the Calgary Flames. And I'm putting the Flames there because of all the reasons you guys have said. I do really think Johnny Gaudreau is a superstar. I think he's going to have a heck of a year. I think he's going to have just a defining year for him. I'm sure he's the kind of guy who's happy that this contract thing is over and done with for the next 6 years that he's set up. And 6 years is a good amount of contract for him because, he'll actually still be able to sign another big contract after that. So he's in a really good spot. No one wants to feel bad for Johnny Gaudreau financially. I know no one does now, but I'm just saying that he's okay as it goes. And I like Elliott. Like I'm an ET fan. I've always liked Elliott's. I think
an ET fan's good.
No, I think that Brian Elliott is going to be.
Hey, it's 1 o'clock on the clock.
Oh, you know what? Like, can we talk about this for a second? All right, so
what the heck happens that it's a different time every single day?
All right, this clock.
Zach is doing the Buzzcast from Newfoundland.
I know. This clock, as you know, sometimes travels in time, and occasionally heads to other places. So it comes back, and then we get these weird time things on it. That's what I've determined because it does. So if I go like this, right? Like I can go through this fast, So watch, it goes to like 1. Then just jumped right to 2. It's like there's no logic behind this. So 2:45, then I'll go to 3. I think no, it went back to 2. Like there's really no. I don't know what's going on with it. I can't figure it out.
There really is a place for that. It's a round receptacle, and it's called a garbage can.
But we all like it, right? I mean, we all like this.
It kind of throws me off sometimes. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, what the heck happened to the time?
I'm going to get you guys actually with that clock. There is no science.
More emails about this clock than anything we've ever talked about.
That makes sense. It is a little bit confusing.
That doesn't say something, Ek.
I know. So I'm getting rid of it. Sorry, but I have to get another.
No, you're going to get rid of it? That's a shame.
I'll get another clock back there. But for now, we'll really confuse people. We'll make people think it's 3:11. All right.
Was there a band name 3:11?
Okay, so where were we? Go ahead.
Your third. You already said.
I'm talking about Calgary. Yep, that's where I have him. Elliott. I like Elliott. I like what they've done. I like where they're heading. And I like where they're going. So that's number 3. Who else do we have to do number 3?
We're all third. We're all third.
We're all through. Okay, we're all through. So number 2. Let's go from left to right this time, so I don't mess myself up. Jillian.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Number 2.
Number 2. LA Kings.
Relax.
What?
I said LA.
Oh, like what are you talking about? I think even though that their time on winning 3 Stanley Cups or winning another cup is kind of coming to an end, I still think that they are a solid team. Their top players are so good, and I love Jonathan Quick. You can always count on him. But I just think that the San Jose Sharks have a little more to play for. I feel like that they're a little bit hungrier maybe because they came so close. I think that's going to be a really fun rivalry between those two teams. But I think that the San Jose Sharks come out with the top spot. I do love the LA Kings though.
Okay, LA Kings. I like that. You can't go wrong with LA and 2. Mike.
Second will be the Anaheim Ducks. The reason that this team is not rebuilding is because you have $22 million being spent, over $22 million being spent on Corey Perry, Ryan Getzlaf, and Ryan Kessler. You can't rebuild when you have those guys in the prime of their career or starting to maybe go down the bottom part of their career.
Yeah, I think they're starting to be on the other side of that.
They're starting on the down slope, but there's still enough there. They have some good young players, especially on the blue line. I think Randy Carlyle, I've always liked Randy Carlyle as a coach. I thought he got misrepresented in terms of how his quality as a coach in Toronto because the organization was full of a bunch of malcontents. And, with Anaheim, you've got a really deep and good young defense. They still have to get Ricard Raquel signed, and they have to get Hampus Lindholm under contract. And I'm not, I think once they get Lindholm signed, they're probably going to end up trading either Fowler or maybe if they can find somebody to take Kevin Bieksa. I have more confidence in John Gibson than some people on this panel do, and I actually think Jonathan Bernier can have a bounce back playing in Southern California and not playing in the crucible of attention in Toronto. So I think Anaheim will do well this year, and they'll finish in second place in the division.
All right, and Russ.
I'm going with the LA Kings here. I don't want to sound like a radio guy, but Mike stole my thunder when he talked about Adrian Kempe. When we had Michael Fuda on our show, he basically said Adrian Kempe is like no other player in their organization, meaning big, tough winger who could score, who could punish you, but also get into the dirty areas. That's why he's still with that team and on the roster still. They are so close to using him because even though he's young, because they really need him. So that's a big thing. Forbort could definitely get in there because he's been getting better every year. He had a little setback years ago, and he's finally caught up. I thought last year would be his year. He got in a little playing time last year, I believe, and then now this year I think he's going to be a starter. So I think that's a big thing for him. Gabrick's not there, but Jeff Carter will just shoot more. So I think the Kings will come in second.
Yeah, that's hard. That's true. Jeff Carter will just shoot more. Number 2 for me is the Edmonton Oilers. I am buying into this. I know.
That's bold. That is bold.
That is
bold.
If they come in second, it pays off. But
yeah, no, and I almost put him in first, but I didn't. I think I really do believe.
You still can change your mind.
I know. I'm not going to.
Russ, don't encourage him.
I'm not going to. I am not a person who changes my mind ever on things. Which has been proven, which is right, Anyway, so here we go.
There's nothing wrong with changing your mind, though. I will give you that.
Yeah, I'm not changing my mind. I believe in Connor McDavid. I am sold. I think that Connor McDavid last year was taking this team in the right direction, and then I think what we saw from him in the World Cup, the development that continues on, that he is the best player in the NHL right now, in my mind. And that's just my opinion. And I think when you have the best player in the NHL, you're going to make the playoffs, one, and you're going to, I think they're going to make the playoffs, and I think that they could finish in second here because I think that it's going to be close. I think Calgary, LA, Edmonton will all be tight, but I think that
I'm not sure he's the best player in the NHL yet either. But okay,
I do. I think he is. It's between him and Sid. Obviously, they're really tight, really close. They're very different players. They're both incredible. But I think he is the best player in the NHL. He's the fastest player I think he's one of the fastest players in the NHL too. Like I really do. And he's just
one of them.
But let's put it this way: he might not be the fastest, just point A to point B, but with a puck from point A to point B, he's the fastest player in the NHL. And what his ability to make moves at high speeds really just baffles defenses. He can, he just does things at a different level, and he makes everyone in the NHL have to be better. That's the key of of the whole Gretzky thing before, is because of Gretzky, we got a lot of players who were better players because they saw what Gretzky could do, and he's the same way. I am sold. I hated the Taylor Hall trade. I have to be the first to admit that I did, but I think they have enough, and I think that they needed a defenseman, and they could have done so many other ways to do it, but they got one. They got a defenseman in Larson. I didn't think they could have done this without trading Hall, but they did need a defenseman, and they could lose one of those guys, and they lost Hall. Now they've lost Yakupov as well, which again, I'm not a big fan of that either, but I like what they have. I like what they still have there, and I like PRV. I like obviously Eberle. I'm all in on these guys. I think they will be good, and I like Talbot. I really do. And I think Talbot's and I just think that this is the year that everything changes. And I've said that other people have said this before, but eventually Edmonton was going to be good, right? Eventually they're going to be good, and I think that's going to start. I think that starts this year. That's my thought.
Based on their track record, I'm waiting for the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for Carter Hutton trade because that seems
the best player in St. Louis Blues camp, Carter Hutton.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's my number 2, and that brings us to number 1, and we'll start with Mike.
Well, everybody is picking this team number 1, which
I was surprised by that.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay.
Oh yeah, we all are. How about that? Huh.
Yeah, I mean, Martin Jones, I think, is the difference between where this team was a couple years ago in terms of questioning where they are, because I mean the forwards are essentially the same. They've added Michael Bodker. They have some young guys like Donskoy. Well, Donskoy they brought in as an undrafted free agent, but he
was big too.
Right, he's a big player. Yeah. I mean, the only concern I have with the Sharks, and I'm sure they'll probably get this done, is the fact that Brent Burns is going into the last year of his contract, and that could be a distraction. I mean, it could be a situation where, and I don't think they'll trade him because they're a legitimate contender for the Stanley Cup, but it could be a bit of a distraction. Plus, they don't have a backup goaltender right now. The Swedish male model Mantis Armalis is the backup goaltender. So, I mean, I thought that they would possibly claim Mike Condon off of waivers from Montreal today, but they let him go by because Pittsburgh they were the ones who claimed him. So, if they have a deal in line for a backup goaltender, then they're okay. But they're to me they're clearly the best team in that division.
That's good. Anything else, Jill? You'd like to add to the San Jose concepts?
There.
No, it was good. I mean, Mike really summed it up well. I mean,
he summed it up well, and I just said I think that they're going to be hungry for it. They came so close. They have a lot to fight for.
And Thornton and Marlowe are UFAs at the end of this year, so this is their last run, maybe.
And this is probably their last run because they probably won't be back. I mean, maybe one of them will be back, but not both.
Yeah, this is the big run. I don't think the contract will be a distraction. If the Beards are under distraction, I don't think the contract's going to be a distraction.
Maybe Brent Burns' bad suits will be.
I just think this is a good group, and because they're a veteran group and they have a good young goalie, and Donskoy was a huge piece, I just think he made a big difference too. I think they have enough. I just think right now, unless the wheels fall off of the older players, they're going to be fine. And Thomas Hertl is taking up a lot of that slack too.
Yeah, that's really true. That's really true. No, I can't say much more about them. I mean, except for the fact that as a Sharks fan, I know this means they're going to be terrible, that we've all picked them to finish in first. And I know that this is a really bad sign because, the Sharks don't do well when everyone's on.
So wait, you're a fan of the Sharks, Nashville, the Flyers, who else?
Yeah.
Montreal.
They're my 4 teams.
Okay.
A lot of teams to have. I'm just saying.
It's all right to have 4 teams, right? I mean, do you want to hear reasons for all of them? I can't give you them.
4 teams, but just one wife, right?
I'm not going to comment on that. No. Yes. But no, I'm not Mormon. I only have one wife. That's true. So obviously grew up in Philadelphia. Montreal was my favorite team as a kid too, because we go up to Montreal every summer. And they are the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, how can you not love the Montreal Canadiens? I'm not going to ask you that question, Mike.
I can give you a response.
For about 10 years, my now wife, then fiance, lived in San Jose, so I lived out there with her for a lot. So that was when the Sharks were starting out, so I got a big fan of those. I recorded a couple albums in Nashville, Tennessee, and became really good friends with the people in the Predators organization. So those are the 4 teams that I follow. And I mean, I know.
I think there's nothing wrong with that. It was just funny.
And they don't really combat with each other, I mean, it's not like they're all in different divisions. First of all, right? There's one in each division, which is kind of interesting.
Well,
okay. I have 2 favorite teams. My first favorite team is the team that I cover.
Right.
The second favorite team is any team that's playing the Montreal Canadiens.
Wait, but here's always the big question, because even as a kid, I used to like. There was a time I liked the Red Sox and the Mets when the Mets were awful, and I sort of latched on. But then they met in the World Series. So if any of these teams met in the Stanley Cup, like the Flyers meet the Sharks, who are you rooting for?
Well, no, I mean the Flyers are your team that you were when you were a kid. They always are going to take precedence, right? Okay. So the Flyers would obviously.
That's your team. That's
right.
That's how I determine that.
But that's just I don't
My
know.
brother though has a second team for every one of his teams.
Sure,
Like,
everybody can have a second, even the third or fourth.
But his teams are always going to be Philly, and then luckily his teams have never all of
but
his
when those
beloved
teams collide, you do inevitably have to pick one.
Oh yeah, he'll acknowledge that he has his favorite and then his second, and his second is second because they come in second.
Yeah. I mean, the closest it's come to happening, I think, was a few years ago when like the Flyers and the Sharks were. I forget it got pretty close. Nashville and Montreal. I forget. There's a couple times it's almost happened. I've always wanted my favorite. I've always said my favorite Stanley Cup final, if I could cover, would be Nashville, Montreal. They are my two favorite places to go to see games. And if you ever get a chance to visit either city, I think they're the greatest places to watch a hockey game. Montreal is Montreal. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, there's nothing like Montreal. You got to give it.
There really isn't. I mean, it's everything about it. It's the language. It's the history. It's just the fact that you're in.
Everybody cares. People on the street care. The doorman cares. The cab driver cares. Everybody in town cares about it. It's
really fun.
If you go to Montreal, you should always be there for 2 games. One you should go to, and one you should not go to. You should just go to bars for it, because just the Montreal bar scene during games is incredible. And I mean, and then Nashville is
don't go with New York or New Jersey plates, please.
Yeah, right. Nashville, totally different. Obviously, not the history and not all that, but such a great vibe. Such a great vibe outside the arena. People are happy. You'll watch country music with hockey fans in the afternoon, and it's just great. It's great stuff. So there's
Charlie Daniels Museum. Yep.
Oh yeah, there's so much to do in Nashville, and last year we got to go twice, which was fun. I know. I heard the Charlie Daniels Museum comment.
I went. I did.
Yeah. All right. So let's get real quick news before I have to get out of here today. And we got through the division. Good job, guys. You might not agree with all of our picks, even though you'd be wrong.
Too bad.
But if you don't agree with them, please send an email to eklund@hockeybuzz.com. We've been answering questions lately, and we will continue asking questions. Also, thank you for continuing to support us on patreon.com. A couple people have asked us about that. The reason we haven't done a show lately, a Patreon show, is because of the crazy thing that happened with the YouTube. It's kind of boring, but the way we do shows through Google Hangouts changed on YouTube, and to do private shows for the only Patreon people changed. And I finally figured out how to do it. So next week we will do a Patreon show for sure. But you can go to patreon.com/hockey and support us. We really appreciate that. That's a wonderful thing. And then we'll have some more as the season goes on now. There was a lot of excuses. I'll throw a lot of excuses out, but technologically was the toughest one. But then also I was, of course, at the World Cup for 2 weeks. But so yeah, remember to support us there. And but let's talk for a second about the news here. I think the big story yesterday, which we have briefly to discuss at least, is the Sidney Crosby concussion, which is
there
bizarre.
Is an update on that. There is an update.
Okay, so what's the latest?
The update is he skated today.
Okay.
And then when people were asking him when it happened, he said it happened on practice on Friday.
Yeah.
And then he said, he looked around the room and he said, well, who was at practice on Friday? And, and a lot of the writers laughed and whatever, and some were there, some weren't, obviously. And he was like, well, if you missed it, that's not my fault. And so, he knows exactly when it happened on Friday. And like I said, he's not telling. But he said, if you didn't notice it, you didn't notice it. But he says
there is something weird though about that. They're being oddly vague. It is strange. I'll give them that.
He doesn't have to tell you I'm hitting the temple. I don't expect him to do that.
No, but there's this vagueness to it where they won't disclose information, and it's kind of I kind of get it, but it's also very vague. There's just this this weird
it's suspicious
feeling of there's something weird they don't want you to know. There's that feeling there.
It's suspicious, and the thing is that I think you want to know how the injury happened, because if it's something like a tap, if it's something that was minor, then that could be that could sort of.
But that's what he doesn't want the rest of the league to know either.
Right, and now the thing is, if it was he slipped and fell in the practice room or something and banged his head on the floor, okay, anybody.
No, he said it was on the ice, and he said it was Friday.
Yeah, so people are saying it could be he did something embarrassing, he fell. There was a fight, which just let's be honest, that's probably not what happened, or it happened at the World Cup.
I know, but I'm going to take him at face value when he said it happened, and he pinpointed at least the time that it happened.
Yeah.
I gotta go with him on this. He's never really been evasive if you think about it.
Right.
Yeah, he hasn't been. That's not his MO at all.
It just feels weird. It feels weird. I mean, I agree. Just take it for what he says. What does he have in it to lie about it? I will say one thing, though. There was one time people were very upset with Claude Giroux when there was a meet and greet with the fans for season ticket holders.
Yeah.
And he oddly just didn't show up. And then all of a sudden he had an injury, but they had 2 days off. And then nobody could ever get details about the injury. Nobody knew anything about what happened. And then the next game he was fine. Nothing happened. And everyone was like, that is shady, because he all of a sudden was practiced fine. And then all of a sudden he didn't show up for this event, and then it was announced that he was injured, disappeared for 2 days because they didn't have a game, and then was fine.
Yeah.
So
these things do happen.
notice these types of things, because I remember people on Twitter talking about it, and I was like, is there something that Crosby maybe missed out on or can't be a part of, and people are upset?
I wonder. I mean, I don't know. I mean, and the way it was reported at first was different too. That was the kind of strange thing. And I guess Crosby was pretty mad at the reporter for reporting it the way he did. From what I heard, right? So I don't know.
I don't know about that part. I didn't catch the entire interview. I caught part of it.
Yeah, there's some oddities here for sure. I think that, and that's, we'll find out. I mean, the sad part of it is just, Crosby with another concussion. Like that's the reality of this whole thing. It doesn't matter how it happened. This is his third concussion in 4 or 5 years now, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, and the thing is, these are the NHL concussions. We have no idea what happened to Rimouski.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. So we don't know. I mean, that's an excellent point, actually. I don't know. But I think hopefully he's going to be okay. He's coming off just playing the best hockey of his career at the World Cup. He was outstanding.
Some said he had more color in his cheeks. If that makes the Jewish mother in you feel better.
More color in his cheeks?
Oh, that's great.
Rob Rossi said he had more color in his cheeks.
When? Today?
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
Well, he had some good chicken soup.
But
this is how closely scrutinized this is.
I know.
Oh, I know.
That's my point.
Well, what happens, though, is when one thing happens out of the norm, people freak out.
Right.
Because there was this whole thing was done a little bit out of the norm. It probably is actually nothing. It probably is like what Russ said. Take it for face value. That's what it is. But one thing was reported out of the norm.
Right. I don't disagree with you. All right. Obviously, we're running out of time, but quickly we'll get into the. So we have let's talk about the Kucherov signing. A little bit interesting and very interesting in terms of the number, $4.76 million per year for Kucherov. Like Mike, you said it really well yesterday, I thought, when you said, here's a guy who could arguably be as important as Steven Stamkos to them. He's making half of what Stamkos is making, right? So.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a great deal for Tampa in the sense that they get a 3-year deal and they still have arbitration rights and 1 more year before he becomes a UFA. So they protect themselves from him just walking in free agency after 3 years. But I still think, and this is one of the higher paid bridge deals you'll see because he's making close to $5 million. But he's one of the best players. I think he's one of the best players in the NHL. And equally as important to that team as Stamkos is. So I mean, getting him for under $5 million is a steal.
Yeah, I think so too. Totally agree. And it really does sets up Tampa in a way where they might not have to do as much as we thought they'd have to do, because this is a player that they almost get themselves they almost buy themselves another player here.
Well, they still have to decide on Bishop at some point.
They do, but they
way
almost.
Around that. This is kind of like what I thought they would do, because I didn't think they had much of a choice.
Yeah.
And now the funny thing is down the road they will have to make decisions, right? Will Jonathan Drouin still be there in a year or two? In 3 years, will Steven Stamkos be there? I mean, you never know. You never know if a guy gets injured or whatever, and that opens up more money for him to get re-signed, or will he just leave in 3 years? Like, there's a lot to gain out of this, but right now they've kept the core together, and that's really all they care about for the next 3 years.
That's all that matters, because in 3 years they're gonna. The time is running out on them to win a cup with this team. I think that it's this year for them really is what they have to aim for. But for that purpose, this deal is perfect for them. I mean, they kept so many players that people didn't think they were going to keep. I mean, Yzerman is. I don't know how he's doing it. This is amazing what he's doing. Yeah. It really is.
Well, sometimes this happens too. When you have a team that players want to be on, like this is he's making this is also, and it doesn't hurt,
And no income tax. He makes more than 4.75 in reality.
Yeah, Yeah, right. And yeah, that's true too. So I mean, you're looking at a guy. It's people want to stay in Tampa. People want to be there. They know that they know that they're going to be Stanley Cup contenders for the next 3 years, easy. And so why not? You know, that's you know, Stamkos is still there. So
they're the #1 team in town. The Buccaneers stink. I mean, I mean, it's a big. I mean, it's
a happy place. I mean,
it is. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of positives. There's a lot of positives.
Yeah, no, it's a great place to live. So yeah, that there's no question that that helps them. That helps them in this situation. I mean, Panthers have never had. I remember joking with the Panthers one time that they've never had trouble selling, you know, selling South Beach to you know, to somebody who grew up in the Ukraine. You know, it's like it's not hard to sell, you know, Southern Florida, you know, to those guys who grew up in, you know, in the tundra. It's really not. So yep, that's all the time we got for today, folks. Remember, tomorrow we'll be back with the Central Division, and then of course, you know, tomorrow night it all begins. I'm also going to be doing my crazy prediction blog later on in the week, and we'll have fun with that too. What was that?
Fire engine.
Oh, okay. There you go. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon. Bye.